Okay, I am now live streaming.
Yeah.
So I apologize, internet, if you are seeing the behind the scenes tech check.
I was also checking hers too, to be fair. What'd you do? Ah, okay.
Did you press the YouTube live stream?
Arlingtondemocrats.org/YouTube. It's easier than trying to get the YouTube link. Yep. I got tired of looking at the YouTube link. All right, live feed. 2 people watching. I think I might be one of them. I see the top of your head.
Well, the question is, can you hear us? I'm trying to see if you can you hear it all? Is this testing? But you can hear it? Oh, it's from my computer. Yep. Well, but if you
So I can hear you when you don't have it here, definitely.
right, but the microphone selected is not.
It's not this line.
Not. Probably Sarah. She says I can see and hear you, but it is audio settings. This is the array. Can you hear this? Can you hear this? I think that just might be the best we got. So, go with it.
There's 2 people. We don't need to tell us.
evening, Arlington Democrats. We're going to go ahead and get started. So if you are out in the hallway and want to join us, come on down. I'm very excited to welcome you to the August meeting of the Arlington Democrats, which we are so excited to be doing in person for the second month in a row this year. So if we give a big shout for hurrah for in-person events. I'm so excited to see you guys in person. I'm also really excited to see folks at home. We're really happy to have you here. We're trying to do tech setup, so apologies for being a little bit late in starting, but we're going to try to figure this out. We're actually live streaming to YouTube for the first time, trying to respond to the desired folks who want to be on Facebook to be able to participate in our meeting. So we'll see how it goes. I can see that I'm not quite on the screen, so we may have to make some adjustments here to figure it out. But really excited to see everybody coming out either live or in person or at home. We're gonna have to figure this out maybe because the setup is a little bit awkward, but we'll get there. All right. I just want to remind folks that for APS policy and in general, we do need to wear masks indoors. It's a masked up group. I do want to see a show of hands though, like vaccine or pro-vaccination. That's right, everybody's hands up. So thank you very much for getting your vaccine. I hope those of you at home were able to do so good as well. Nonetheless, very important to keep wearing your masks given the Delta variant that's out there. Really appreciate your attention to that public health issue. I'm going to move us right along. And we are going to start, as always, for action oriented. We will be starting with our social media challenge. So if you could please, and I can see you now. I couldn't see you when we were all at home, but I can see you now, folks. Please get out your phones. For those of you who are at home, please go to your web browser, head on over to Facebook, and there you will see a post that looks a little bit something like this, pinned to the top of the Arlington Downs Facebook page, which is at Arlington Downs. You'll see a post that is promoting our awesome Gold Card events that we've got coming up in the fall season. We're going to be hearing a little bit more about those from the joint campaign reps that are here with us tonight. They have been super hard work putting together great events that are going to get us pumped and jazzed for the fight that we have ahead this November, because as you are going to hear me say many times this evening, every single one of our races is contested in Arlington, so we have to get out every single last volunteer, every single last voter. I really appreciate your support with that. The way we do that is through these exciting events the joint campaign has put together and through the funds that we will raise for them. So if you could please, when you find this post, hopefully I've talked long enough that you can find it, please hit share or like into your network. I know that not everybody loves fundraising, but this is a really small thing that you can do to help the party out, to raise awareness about these great events that we have coming up. Our plan is to do them in person. We're trying really hard for that. We'll see how it goes, but that is the current plan. And these are going to be a lot of fun. You'll hear a lot more about them a little bit later, but I hope that you're able to help us out with the share or like this post. And hopefully I've talked long enough that you're able to do that. So I'm seeing some folks nodding their heads like, yes, you've talked long enough about that. So we're going to move on, although I never promised that I will not come back to fundraising. But we are going to move on. I do want to get a little business out of the way before we get to the exciting news about all the volunteer opportunities that are available out here this coming month. Before I do, I want to recognize that we've been joined by an elected official, the vice chair of our county board, Katie Crystal. And chair of the Congressional District Democratic Committee is also with us, Margo Carter. Okay, I'm sorry, candidate and current county board member Takis Karatonis. Always appreciate you. Okay, see, I'm just failing left right here. I'm blaming the mask. All right, school board member Christina Diaz-Torres. Mask and hiding out there. Okay, well, you guys keep me honest. If I miss folks, you gotta speak up, so I appreciate it. All right, I'm going to move us on to the voting items. We just have a couple here tonight, but they're important. First up is, as almost always, we are very excited to be welcoming to the ranks of our leadership some some new members. We are always looking to expand our leadership ranks. The more voices that we have, the better. And tonight we are really delighted to have folks in a number of different categories. First up, we have two suggested appointments to our steering committee in the area of voter support. So we have Jackson Murphy and Amy Haas looking to join our voter support team, taking on voter protection and voter information outreach. So we'll be hearing a little bit more about voter support in a few minutes. In precinct operations, we are looking to add a couple of precinct captains and a few precinct leaders. So as the slide and your handouts say on the chairs, we've got precinct captains in Roslyn, Arlington View, and Overly Hills, Sarah Lanford, Sarah Holberg, and Penny Canester-Keenan. And then precinct leaders, the chair of precinct ops is coming our way. Correction time.
This is my fault. Sarah Lanford is not running as precinct captain.
So should we just strike her from the list?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, all right, so we'll strike her from the list, but everybody else stands. And I did want to note Jamie Lockhart, Nicole Lee, and Patty Canester-Keenan are coming in as precinct leaders in the noted precincts. Okay, we're all set. Okay, the steering committee unanimously suggested approval of these appointments/elections, and I am looking for a motion to do the same. I hear a second. All right, that motion has been properly moved and seconded. I think we will take this by voice vote. All those in favor? All right. Anybody dare oppose? I think not. Okay, well, thank you so much, and thank you to these wonderful leaders. Let's give them a round of applause. We appreciate them stepping up. Always supported the steer, and in the post-Trump era, we have to show that Democrats will keep showing up. These folks are doing that. You are doing that, and I am jazzed for what we're going to do in November. All right. Speaking of November, I want to move us on to our second voting item, and this is a resolution supporting 4 bond referenda that the Arlington County Board recently approved for inclusion on the November ballot. So we often have ballot measures that appear on a variety of different topics. This year, the county board is recommending to Arlington citizens that they approve 4 bond referenda that will go to support the projects in the capital improvement plans that have been put together at the county-wide level and also for our schools. And as I think many of you know, Arlington enjoys the highest bond rating that you possibly could have because of the very responsible Democratic leadership that we have on the county board. These bonds would not jeopardize that at all. That is an important fiscal consideration that our county board has. It's always when they are looking to put forward bonds, this is no different. These bonds will help the county to make important advances in infrastructure and with respect to our schools. So we are looking to strongly support these referenda. That was what the steering committee has recommended. If we were to approve this resolution, just to give a full visibility to folks, we'll put this on our website, and this will form the basis for our position on the sample ballot, which the joint campaign is going to be putting together, and we'll be handing out at the polls. So this is an important resolution to demonstrate support for this policy action by our county board. Again, the steering committee has recommended approval. I am looking for a motion for the same. I heard a motion. I heard a second. I'm also going to take this one by voice vote. All those in favor? Anybody opposed? Okay. And that motion passes as well. Thank you very much, and thank you for the county board for your continued sound stewardship of our county. All right. That's yeah, I'll give a round of applause. The opportunity to applaud our county board or school board, you should do so. These are very hard jobs, especially in these times when we're dealing with COVID. And I think Arlington is coming on the other side of this very difficult pandemic in as good a shape as we can possibly hope to be, thanks to their very hard work. So when you see one of those folks, say thank you, because even if you don't agree with every single decision they make, they are out there working hard every single day to make sure that our county is really, I think, an example in the Commonwealth and beyond. Okay, we're going to be talking a little bit more about another elected official in just a minute who also is richly deserving of our support, but I'm going to get to that in a second. I'm going to move us on to our next portion of our meeting. This is our joint campaign update. I'm going to welcome up our joint campaign co-chairs who are here with us. Really briefly, for those of you who don't know, every year we form a committee known as a joint campaign, and it is their job to lead us to victory in November with support from me and Maggie and the whole committee. But these are the folks who are putting the strategy, putting in the long hours to make sure we've got great collateral, great events, great messaging, great volunteer opportunities. So I want you to give them a big round of applause. We're missing a couple of ones. We're going to tell you all about what we got going on. So Kelly, Nick,
Thanks, Jill. Appreciate that. And thank you all for being here tonight. The joint campaign has been hard at work for the last couple of months to prepare for November. As the co-chair of events and fundraising, I've had the pleasure to work on our Gold Card events. So hopefully everyone saw the email that went out on Sunday announcing those events. Please purchase your Gold Cards. It is the best financial deal for you, and it's also the best financial deal for the party. So that we can raise enough money for all of our canvassing, our field activities and operations, as well as our communications and all the other things that we need to do to keep Virginia blue in November. And as all of you know, this is super important because if we're going to build on the successes of the last couple of years, outline the death penalty, expanding Medicaid, providing more money for affordable housing throughout the state, as well as supporting our local candidates for the county board, for the school board, it is critical that Arlington turns out to vote and that we get every last one of the Democrats and people who are going to support the Democrats, even if they aren't part of the party, to vote in November and actually starting in September, because we have early voting this year as well. And that is a new thing for us. So we're really excited about that. Okay, so we're on that slide, thank you. So for the Gold Card, as I said, you can go to the website and purchase those tickets. And you can also purchase tickets for each individual event. And the pricing information is up there. You can go to the next slide, Jill, or whoever was controlling it. Thank you. To let you know a little bit about the upcoming events, so pretty similar to previous years, but we're excited. Every year is going to have its own spin. So we have the Labor Day Chile Kickoff coming up on September 6th. We're really excited about that. We're also looking for chili entries. So if any of you are actually good at making chili, there's an email that went out. Please sign up. I'm not. I hate beans. So I probably also shouldn't be a judge. I never see chili without beans. So yeah, if someone wants to bring bean-free chili, I will happily eat it. But probably I'm going to touch the ones, not touch the ones with it. But we need judges and we need volunteers to help us out with just the day of logistics. So as I said, an email should have gone out today or yesterday. An email went out yesterday asking for volunteers. They had sign-up information. So please check your email if you haven't already signed up. We could really appreciate your help. And then our other event in September is honoring a distinguished Democrat. So we're honoring Mary Margaret and Todd Whipple, and Tom. And we're super excited about that as well. And I know our co-chairs for that event are hard at work trying to make that a very successful event and fundraiser, as well as honoring the contributions of this political power couple that is contributed both to the local party as well as the contributions throughout our county and the state as an elected leader. So if you haven't already, please purchase tickets for that. And more information will be coming out soon. Next slide. Great, and then we have our Arlington Young Democrats Oktoberfest Trivia Night that's coming up in October. We have more details that will be coming out soon about that as well. So after a day of canvassing, we're hoping that people can join us for trivia and fun and some, I guess, relaxation when compared to canvassing, although trivia can be pretty intense at times as well. But yeah, more information to come on that, as well as speaker announcements. And then lastly, as far as the fundraising events, we have the Golden Gala, and we're very excited about this event as well. Again, more information to come, but these are all part of the Gold Card package that we hope you guys will all purchase. And we also have a free candidate meet and greet that we're planning in October, working to finalize the details of that, but stay tuned for more information about that as well. Next slide. We also have some field activities that we would love some support with coming up. There's going to be canvassing the next couple of weekends on Saturdays and Sundays. The information is behind me on the slide as far as the dates, times, and the meeting addresses. If you guys have questions, feel free to reach out to the party or the joint campaign. But we could really use help making sure that we're ready for early voting in September. So I know typically the field operations would start a little bit later. This year we're starting early because voting is starting early. So we really need to turn out the vote as early as possible so that going into November, we've already gotten as many people out to the polls as possible. Yes, and check out the credit card, and we'll have more wonderful graphics and materials for the canvassing and campaign that are coming your way. Next slide, please. And also just want to give a brief update. Our Dollars for Dems fundraiser is moving forward. Thank you to everyone who at the last meeting volunteered to assist with the envelope preparation for that fundraiser. And thank you to Carol, who's been leading that effort. So we're on track. We're on track to get those out by early September. That's also another key fundraising activity for us to ensure that we're ready to, conduct all the events we need to win this fall. And I think that is the final slide for the joint campaign. So thank you, and just thanks. I didn't mention, but Paul and Scott and Dan and Marissa, if you guys are watching, and just thank you for all the hard work of everyone on the joint campaign. It's been a pleasure serving with you guys, and I'm excited to see what we can accomplish. So thank you.
I just want to make one note, which is, we're missing a couple of our joint campaign co-chairs. Not everyone can make every single meeting, including me, and that's okay. We are missing our elected co-chair, and I just want to give her a call out. Our elected co-chair of the joint campaign this year is Marissa Degani-Tafti, our wonderful Commonwealth attorney. Always the difficult job that she does with such a pomp, but she deserves it especially this week because, as you may know, a recall effort was recently announced with Marissa and a couple of the other progressive Commonwealth attorney in Virginia. This is part of a far-right effort to roll back in an undemocratic way the reforms that people like you folks were able to get over the finish line by helping to elect Democrats up and down the ballot. I want to say unequivocally here tonight that Arlington Democrats backed Marissa when she was on the ballot in 2019, and we will be there for her this year as well. Wherever she's needed, far right wants to bring the fight to Arlington. Let them know that Arlingtonians are ready to bring the fight to them. So if you will be looking out for the party to be pushing Marissa just as strongly as we are pushing all of the candidates on our ballot this year, because truly the stakes could not be higher, and we will just be pushing as hard as possible. I thank you in advance for your support of Marissa, of all of the Democrats that are on the ballot this year, and I know that we can help to defend their positions and defend the Democratic values and policy positions that they are advancing for us. So that is my pitch for supporting Marissa and all of our Democrats across the ballot this year. Again, remember, every single one of our races on the ballot is contested. I need every single one of you to show up strong for all of our Democratic candidates. Who is going to be there with me? I need to hear it again. We can have a profound impact outside of Arlington as well. We've known for a couple of years that Arlington, can not only make the difference in our statewide races, but we can make the difference in races outside of Arlington that are critical to keeping the Democratic majority in the General Assembly. That is the job of our Crack Beyond Arlington group, and I am excited to be turning things over to our next agenda item, over to Rose Fabia, who's going to tell us how we're going to help key races beyond Arlington.
First of all, I want to show you some of the photos of our campuses for the past 2 months, so you can see what we've been doing. Louder. So here's the first one, Winnie Godinas. Winnie Godinas was a kickoff, and we had beyond Arlington, partnering with individual waterfront and blue families. And on top of that, you don't see it, but it was swing left. So in total, we have about 45 volunteers altogether. The next one was fall cycle. People feel that maybe Loudoun County, Frederick County, and Clark is maybe too far away. But there's always rows, and I have a person, the guy in the front row with a white t-shirt, his name is Gerald Schwinn. And he goes canvassing with me every weekend for the past 2 months. Gerald is 80 years old. Gerald has been active since 1960s. He used to tell me that he was a Vietnam protester during the Kennedy administration. So next slide. The next one's Brianna School. The kickoff of that one, Danica Brown was so generous in doing the introduction. We did the canvas with Blue Families. It was a great time for us. Thank you, Blue Families. And then there's Josh Cole, and that was with Blue Families once again. Thank you. And that was another kickoff. So the next slide. This one is very impressive. This one, we have Dan Helmer. He's running against, I can't remember his name, but he's Korean American and ultra conservative. I believe in women's reproductive rights. People who think the border should be shut down. And he's just really far right. But nobody knows that because he's not coming out and he doesn't have an elected office. So Dan Helmer, Museum has the Democratic Asian American of Virginia backing him up. And with their campaign manager, because I'm part of the kitchen cabinet for Helmer. So we meet once a month and talk about strategy. And we definitely said we're going to need more weekend of action with the dabs. So that's what we're planning for August. Next. Oh, Paul Seiger. So we don't have enough volunteers coming to Loudoun, but we need volunteers because Paul Seiger's opponent is David Rock. Yeah. And the latest obnoxious thing that David Rock is doing on Twitter is trying to convince people from Liberty University and all the conservative universities not to take the vaccine. It's unbelievable, but that's who David Rock is. Besides being at the insurrection, January 6th rally, besides all the, I could go on. Anyways, next slide. Okay, so voter turnout is not just a phrase, it's a fact. And what I want to tell you, I've been canvassing for the past 2.5 months. And what I found out consistently, that too many voters are unaware there's a statewide election. Too many voters are unaware we have 6 seats away from losing our majority in the House and maybe even losing the governor's race. We have too many voters who are unaware of how much the American Rescue Plan has actually given us free COVID vaccinations, helped small businesses towards economic recovery, affordable health care coverage, and help unemployed from financial devastation. Too many voters are unaware of the landmark legislation our Democratic General Assembly passed in the past 2 years. We are the first state to pass its own Voting Rights Act and designate Election Day as a state holiday, enable no excuse absentee voting, ensure mail-in ballots postmarked Election Day be counted, and implement automatic voter registration through the DMV. Virginia became the 38th state to ratify the ERA because of our General Assembly. Our General Assembly, our Democrat majority General Assembly, we restored women's reproductive rights. We strengthened our workforce with open access to collective bargaining for public employees and raised the minimum wage to $15 over the next few years. The General Assembly, the Democratic General Assembly, is protecting our environment by putting Virginia on the path to 100% renewable energy by 2050. Our Democratic General Assembly is promoting criminal justice reform by strengthening the laws related to citizen review boards and panels. Ban debt restraints and prohibit no-knock search warrants, and by removing the criminal penalty for simple marijuana possession. We tell this to the voters. Is an act of common sense gun safety reform by implementing universal background checks, requiring the reporting of lost and stolen firearms, and preventing child access to loaded firearms. And they passed red flag laws for those who could do harm to themselves and to others. And in 2021, our Democratic General Assembly delivered on COVID relief statewide, which saved hundreds of thousands of lives from potential death of this deadly virus. The voting turnout is not just a phrase, it's a fact, and it's a fact that we need to get out. Next slide. Okay, so when we Democrats have Republicans, what we have that Republicans don't have are the majority of the voters in Virginia. Yeah, we do. The Republicans are betting our volunteers are burnt out. Republicans are betting Democrats will stay home confident the election is ours to win without them to show up at the polls. Let's prove them wrong and get out the vote. Join me as we canvass for Dan Helmer on August 7th, Rita Goditis on August 21st, and Paul Cypher on August 29th, and phone call every Sunday for Nancy Guy. Because when we show up, we win. So say it with me. When we show up, we win. Thank you.
For another round. Eastern Shore, okay, like Rose will be there where the Democratic need. We should all be like Rose. And I'll be at Virginia Beach on the 3rd. There you go. Virginia Beach. None of us have been able to travel this past year, right? Right, and we've all been stuck in our homes. So, and it's still a little bit difficult to travel. So why not visit the beautiful cities and counties of this great Commonwealth with Rose? Go check out the Beyond Arlington races that are so critical to keeping the majority in our General Assembly. Rose is right. Do you remember when, way back when, just a few years ago, when Virginia would make headlines for all of the wrong reasons? Cringeworthy. I mean, do you remember the transvaginal ultrasound, anybody? Right? Right, that's right. And you're gonna call it veto bill after bill after bill. Let's have Terry have a much better time come next year with a Democratic General Assembly that he can help push forward all of these great initiatives. Because I don't know about you, but in the last couple of years, when I've seen Virginia in the news, we've been putting points on the board. Etc. It is so important that we keep our eye on the prize, and the prize is maintaining Democratic control of the General Assembly. So I'm asking you folks, I'm asking you to show up in Arlington for sure, because our joint campaign is working hard, and we can never, ever take our Arlington voters for granted. But I'm also asking you to dig deep and get out there and support our Beyond Arlington candidates that Rose has identified as being key to Democratic victory this fall. So who's going to get out there and commit tonight at least one canvas trip to Rose? To our Precinct Operations update, I'm going to welcome back up to the stage Carol Fontaine. Really need no introduction. She's going to let us know what the Precinct Ops here in Arlington.
Thank you all very much. Watch this. I'm holding it close to my mouth this time.
Oh, for the people at home. We want to see your lovely face.
So, do we have the best cheerleader in the world? Yeah, she just loves it, and she's so good at it. So voter turnout is not just a phrase; it's a fact, right? So, what is Arlington's job?
Turn out.
Every single last Democratic vote in Arlington, right? Okay, next slide, and then the next slide. And I want to welcome some people who are going to join us and help us do this. You all have already voted for them, but I want to welcome them officially. To talk to us about what precinct captains do and some of what precinct operations does, particularly precinct captains, I'd like to introduce Sarah Lambert, who is the co-area chair for Metro East, and she's going to talk to you about what her experiences are and what she thinks.
Like Girl said, my name is Sarah Lambert, and I have lived in Arlington now for about 4.5 years. And I really love precinct operations because that's how I got involved in Arlington Democrats. And it was a great way for me to get super involved really locally in my neighborhood. Like Carol said, our goal is to turn out every single vote in Arlington. And the way we do this, and I'm going to talk about this a little bit more in depth, but we deliver Democratic messengers to every single household in the county, and we poll greet at every single polling place on election day. So those are our two biggest jobs as precinct captains. And if we might go to the next slide, these are just some of the reasons I really love being a precinct captain. You can help strategize and plan how to turn out every single vote in your neighborhood. So I have been serving in Metro East, which is very different than somewhere else in the county, right? Each precinct has very distinct needs, and no one knows what those needs are better than the people who live in those precincts. You also get to be the face of the Democratic Party in your neighborhood, and you get to build a community. Like I said, I've gotten to a lot of my neighbors and meet really cool people through this opportunity. So that being said, if you'd like to join your neighborhood precinct team, please reach out to us at this email or find Carol or me, and we can help you get involved. But with that, I will turn it over to Howard, who will talk about some more immediate volunteer opportunities. Thank you.
Hi, everybody. So do we have the next slide? No, now we do. Okay, so you remember last year when we were delivering the messenger in the fall, we decided to target doors, meaning we went to homes where we believe the voters at that residence were either strong Democrats or lean Democrats. We did not deliver the messenger to every home in the county, every place where we think their voters. Well, we're going back to what we used to do, which is we're delivering the messenger to all doors, to all accessible doors within the county. So what that means is, particularly with the fact that some of you have helped us identify garden apartment buildings and high-rise apartment buildings that we believe are accessible, that we didn't used to go to. So between going to all houses, going to more apartment buildings, it shows up on the slide there. We're looking at maybe delivering 60,000 messengers in the fall, which is, I'm sure, a record. I don't think we in order to do that, we need, I think as the slide suggests, at least 600 volunteers. That's a lot of volunteers. So I'm counting on all of you, particularly those of you in the audience who are area chairs, who are precinct captains, who are precinct leaders, to really start recruiting volunteers to deliver the message. There's going to be a lot of messenger delivery routes in every precinct. One of the things I did, I'm a precinct captain in the Madison precinct. I actually looked at my precinct folder on Google Drive yesterday, and there's like 200 plus names of volunteers in my precinct folder. So I encourage each of you, particularly the precinct captains and the precinct leaders, go into Google Drive, open up your precinct folder, and see what's in there. You'll be surprised. There's going to be a ton of names and contact information as a source of potential volunteers to deliver the message. So in terms of the mechanics, obviously the first thing we need to do is to have the joint campaign committee actually print once they've got the text of the messenger actually printed. So I know there's at least a couple of joint campaign committee chairs here, so I'm encouraging them to get that done sooner rather than later. I say that because we're planning on quote unquote bundling the messenger. In other words, putting groups of messengers together with maps at headquarters on either September 12th or September 13th. And once we've done that, then we're going to get them out to the area chairs. The area chairs, of course, will deliver them to the respective precinct captains and on out to the volunteers. The reason we're trying to meet that schedule is, as somebody already mentioned, early voting begins on September 17th. So it's nice to get the messenger out to voters, somewhere around the 17th. We probably won't get that, but as soon as possible after the 17th, that's our preference. So we need to make sure that we've got everybody, on board, in place, ready to go. Hopefully that weekend, which is I think September 18th and 19th, September 17th, that week's a Friday. So with that, let's go to the next slide. So in addition to, of course, meeting volunteers a lot to deliver the messenger, we've also got an election, because this is all directed towards getting out the vote, informing voters, and getting out the vote for November 2nd. As everybody knows, we always poll on election day. And if you do the math, we've got 54 precincts. We've got, 7, I think, 2-hour time slots. We typically have poll readers handle a 2-hour time slot. And we typically have 2 poll readers in each time slot. So if you do the math, you've got like 7 time slots. You've got 2 readers each time slot. You've got 54 precincts. That's up to more than 700 poll readers. And so we need to obviously do the same thing we're doing with the messenger. We've got recruiting volunteers. Now, one thing you can clearly do is when you're recruiting somebody to deliver the messenger, you can ask them would they like to be a poll reader too. You can get it too. In fact, I'm sure that that's going to be the case with some of the volunteers. So the long and short of it is we need a lot of help in the fall. We need a lot of help to deliver the messenger. We need a lot of help to do poll reading on November 2nd. And of course, poll reading is critical because that's where we hand out the sample Democratic ballots. And people take those into the polling place, and if they're democratically inclined, they're just going to go ahead and vote for the people on that sample ballot. And that's what we need to do. With that, I think that's really about it. Any questions in terms of what we're doing with either the messenger or poll reading? And if not, I'm going to turn it over to Richard Skinner. Richard is our vice chair for months. And I mentioned, we're doing a great job of figuring out which apartment buildings are accessible and which aren't. And so Richard's going to tell us how we actually get into those buildings to deliver the message.
All right. Thank you. I'm Richard Skinner. I'm the Precinct Operations Vice Chair for multiple buildings and blocking the light here anymore. Arlington has more than 2,000 multi-unit buildings. More than half of our residents live in multi-unit buildings. We need volunteers to help share voting information in these buildings while following their protocols. This can entail a variety of things. We hold voter registration events. We distribute material, post material on bulletin boards and electronic communities to let people know about upcoming events. We try to deliver the messenger in as many buildings as we can. We try to do canvassing in as many buildings as we can. This can be challenging, but we try to do it. Next slide. And multi-unit building outreach is especially important in 2021. The population of multi-unit buildings tends to be younger. It tends to be relatively transient. We're going to have a lot of people in those buildings who are not living in Virginia the last time we had a race for governor. We're going to have a lot of people who have never voted Donald Trump on the ballot or as president. So, and Donald Trump really is on the ballot here in Virginia this year, but we've got to let them know that. And so we're always looking to recruit building ambassadors. We're trying to find ways to improve access, trying to find ways to work with property management companies. So if you're interested in helping as a building ambassador or otherwise, please let me know. If you know people in multi-unit buildings who'd like to become more active, we would love to have them as ambassadors. So thank you very much. Good job. All right.
Involved really in your community, in your neighborhood. Precinct Ops is the way to go. And if you're new to our Democrats and you're wow, there's a lot going on here. How do I engage? Most people start at precinct operations. So, that's where I would start. If you're looking for an insertion point, go talk to Carol. I think I saw Deputy Chair Precinct Ops Fran Jackson in the back of the room. Their email address is precinctoperations@arlingtondemocrats.org. All this is on our website, which you should also check out. You can check out information about precinct ops and all of the groups that we are talking about here tonight. Without further ado, I will move us on to our next agenda item and welcome on down the Chair of Voter Support, Marcia Johnston.
Aren't you good? Let's see. Put the mask down over here. So I'm talking to you too, right? Oh, okay. Hey, everybody. So let's see. Very colorful. It's like, hey, how come that's missing my two new members? My slide has it. Oh, well, there we go. Okay. Anyway, welcome to Jackson. I don't think they're here. I was looking at, I don't think Jackson or Amy are here tonight. But anyway, we're welcoming them to our team. Amy's been working with Diana a lot already, voter protection. So it's basically just a really important kind of symbolic, but she's already been doing a lot of work with voter protection. So we have her, and Jackson is a dynamo, but he's not here tonight. But you guys will meet him soon enough. He is helping Paula, Sandra, in many ways on voter information and voter registration. So you guys will be seeing a lot of Jackson Murphy. Give a round of applause, even though they're not here. All right. So, welcome them. Okay, next slide. And this is just to show you guys we haven't been completely dormant in August. And the Eid celebration, Paul and I are there. Yeah, it was great. And we didn't register anybody. It's sort of one of the things that we always tell people: if you don't register anybody, it's okay, because a lot of times what you're giving up is information. Howard was alluded to this. You guys all know this, but sometimes, especially newbies, they don't really understand, and they might be a little disappointed because they didn't register 10 people. But that's okay. So we will be telling people about things, and we will begin our regular tabling events on September 11th. So we have our 4 sites that you guys probably know about: Megamart and Good Company and Shirlington. I'm trying to think of one. But we've got a new one in Buckingham Precinct, which is going to be another Spanish-speaking site. So we're going to be looking for those of you who speak Spanish to step forward. We're very excited about this. We're going to have 2 Spanish-speaking sites. We're also supporting voter registration at the Carlton on September 11th in the afternoon, 2 to 4. So those are the first things coming up, and then we'll be just doing it regularly in the fall as we do, starting September 11th. Next slide, please. And one thing, just sort of informational for those of you, we've reached out to some folks in the membership about this already, but we are looking for a site in Crystal City, particularly because, I think Rich alluded to all these new buildings, new residents. Crystal City in particular, lots of young people as well. So we are looking, we've got a couple of ideas. We've heard from Christina had some great ideas. So we're trying to nail that down. If any of you have other ideas, we're still mulling it over, but that's in the works as well. We will be sending out a recruitment email at the end of August for those of you to sign up to do voter registration table starting in September. Okay, next slide, please. And I used this slide last time, but I wanted to just put it up again. Most of you were here last time. This is just some of the things that we'll be telling people when I say that you give out information. Like Jill alluded to, that there's no election. A lot of people don't know, that Rose alluded to, I guess. A lot of people don't know. And some other stuff that people should know, especially if they know people are going to be voting by mail. And last year got used to the notion they didn't have to have a witness, things like that. So this is critical stuff in terms of making sure the votes that we secure count, right? So that's the important thing. And also dropping off on election day is also something else that people are glad to know when they're, and that's what we do with information at our table. Next slide, please. We have been trying to get an in-person training, but I think we're going to probably stick with video right now. We're having some trouble, and Enrica's not doing any renting or not allowing their place to be used. So, but the Virginia Department of Elections has a new video. You can find it, and it's impossible to like use those with, anyway, never mind. Go to Department of Elections and look for their video training, you'll find it. So they have a new one, so you might do that. You don't necessarily need to like sign the certification thing, just do the training again. It's helpful. Okay, next one. And last time I put up, you know, who we were electing, I decided to put up the names of all our candidates, in case any of you are not aware. But anyway, there they all are. So, just to commit to memory. So if anyone asks, I always have to remember which delegate district. But anyway, there you go. Next slide, please. And in-person voting. We are so lucky because this year it's early. They really set the dates and times like early. We know where it's going to be. We know the times. Votes on March 30th from 17th to the 30th. In person, 8 to 5, Monday to Friday. And then Courthouse plus Madison and Walter Reed on those dates. 2 Saturdays, 1 Sunday. Really good. I think we maybe look at some Souls to Polls organization at some point. And Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, the week before the election. So there you go. And also, I will say early voting poll rating is poll rating before election day. And we will be recruiting, next slide is, I actually think I'm going to get into that here. Again, talking about bringing voters who were clueless. I was looking for clueless, and that was what I came up with. I actually have never watched Beavis and Butthead, but I know that generally he would. So, and this is the thing, we're going to be doing an all hands on deck call for volunteers, both early voting poll reading and for, however I mentioned, the messenger, and for election day poll reading and voter registration. So that's probably going to go out, I would imagine, either late August. I would think that's probably when we get around to getting it done and mobilize that. And kind of along the lines of what Rose had said, the poll reading that we do on early voting, one of the things that we will be telling people is really stressing how Virginia became an easy to vote state who really wants its people to vote. And that's a total change. And if we lose, it's going to go back. They will do everything they can to make it harder to vote again. So that's, I don't know about you, but that's something I don't want to see happen. So next slide, please. And this is exciting. So we got, thanks to many thanks to Sandra, who I think isn't here, Lisa, who is, and the tech team, and Elizabeth Onder, who I don't think is here either. We got approved during the more robust platform of Translate WordPress. So now it will help our translators do faster, better translations for Spanish, and we can add languages much easier. So if we feel like we want to add Amharic or Mongolian, we can do that. So anyway, we're very excited about this, and many thanks to those folks for helping make it happen. So once again, volunteers, first thing we're going to be looking for is early voting, poll reading, guys, mid-September. So look for that. Thanks.
Board missions geared towards making sure our terrific voters have the information they need to succeed. So really appreciate the work that team is doing. All right, next up, I'm going to turn things over to our terrific outreach team, who's going to let us know how they are plugging into the community and making sure that they're present in the moment. I'm going to turn things over to Vicki.
All right, we've had a very exciting month on the outreach side. Excited to share that with everybody. Next slide, please. Starting off with farmers market, always looking for volunteers. If you're interested, get in touch. Next slide, and this is for Josh. for our Blue Families update.
It was me all along. Nice to see everyone in person. Next slide. So I want to amplify everything that Rose said about just the importance of getting out and just reminding people there's an election. We've seen a big, I'll just be honest, we've seen a massive decline in volunteer participation between 2020 and this year. And it is to be expected. We're exhausted after 4 years of hell. We all want to get out on vacations this summer. So, everyone gets a pass, including myself. But August this year, voting starts in a month and a half. Like, it's time to buckle down. I was canvassing with Rose down in Pennsylvania County for Brianna School, one of our candidates, and no one I talked to was aware that there was an election. It was a very sobering experience. So we really have to get out there and get on the doors if we're going to show that Virginia is still very good. So we do have lots going on. We have postcards. We have 5 great candidates who are writing postcards for. Please sign up for a batch if you have not. Thank you to everyone. I see many people who have already written at that time, but we really want to ramp those up. Postcards are fantastic, easy, kid-friendly way to reach voters and just remind them that there is an election. I think it'll be especially effective this year, given just the exhaustion and the fact that people just need that reminder. We have already had one in-person postcard party. We're going to have some more. We're looking for hosts who have like nice patios so we can do it outdoors. I think we're going to kind of dial back the packing indoors aspect, given what we know about the Delta variant. We are still having our potluck picnic. I'd love to get some volunteers to help with that. It's sort of our flagship event. Great chance to bring your kids. And we have lots of kid-friendly activities. Local electives, statewide electives. We're really hoping to get at least one of the statewide ticket to join us, and we'll have some of our adopted House of Delegates candidates there as well. And canvassing, we are definitely partnering with Arlington for all of their canvases as well. So we encourage you to come out with that with Rose for Dan Helmer this coming weekend. We'll keep doing those canvases. A great way to we're trying to find places where it's very walkable. You can bring your kids and take ice cream afterwards. That's as the weather gets a little cooler, hopefully it'll be more pleasant for people under the age of 18. And then on September 11th, we're going to have a canvass for Paul Seiger, who is trying to unseat an insurrectionist in Leesburg and beyond. And we'll be going to the Dirt Farm Brewery afterwards for after canvassing. Definitely mark it down with that. So please come out. We definitely would love volunteers for, especially for the potluck picnic. You can already sign up RSVP for that. So that's where we're going.
Thank you, Josh. I love your motivation afterwards. Great. And I'd like to welcome Doug out to get the business and labor office update. Next slide, please.
I've got snow and loss with the business and labor caucus. Keith is not here, but July was a really big month for labor. We had a big win as far as getting collective bargaining for the county employees. There's going to be a virtual event on September 9th at 6 p.m. to talk about wage theft and the underground economy. And from the business side, we're teaming up with Josh and Blue Families for one of the postcard writing events on Friday, September 24th with Dan Helmer. And we're going to talk about business issues. We're working on getting some other special guests as well. And it's going to be a lot of fun. So please come out for that. Thank you.
Thanks, Doug. Next slide, please. All right, here's our chair of the
Also, the Precinct Operations captain. So yes, we have an AAPI caucus, Asian American Pacific Islander. And last month we had our first in-person meeting, which is here. Already has a couple of these folks. And next slide, please. All right, so our next meeting is gonna be at Times Square. So every meeting we want to support a local AAPI business. So last month it was at Mount Yet. This one is gonna be at Times Square, but we might have to revisit that later on. This is Milton area. And as you know, we're on Instagram, so we do a bi-monthly effort where we do a shout out for, again, local AAPI businesses. Rose is going to be doing Thai Noi this month, and then Lisa will do doing computer trends. So check us out on Instagram. It's Arlington's AAPI. And we're going to be doing a local registration event in September. We haven't decided on a date, but Marsha, we want to do it at the Meeting Center, so we'll probably need some translated materials. We'll talk offline about that. And then we would like to do, this is pretty much solid, but we would like to do a Diwali event. A lot of people don't know that there are a lot of Indians, myself, in Arlington. So, you know, we want to do a Diwali event. It's the biggest festival for Indians, and it's meaning the festival of lights. So we want to start it off as a get out the event. They come and pick up their packets. We're going to be working in coordination with the Democratic Party of Virginia, and then they come back, and there's going to be Indian food trucks. We're going to do live performances. We're going to invite some elected officials. So it'll be a lot of fun and a lot of good Indian food.
Thanks so much. So mark your calendars. And then next up, we have the update from, Latino Caucus update. So the Latino Caucus is planning on doing another voter registration. There was a lot of success back in the primaries in the spring with doing registration events. And we're looking for Spanish speakers as well. We've got a ton. Also, if you're a beginner or intermediate, please feel free to come. And there's always something for everyone to do. It's a great way to practice your Spanish. And if you're interested in joining the next caucus meeting, it will be on the 21st of August via Zoom. Next slide, please. Okay, now Danielle gives the disabilities caucus update.
Thank you. First, I did want, let's actually go to the next slide. I wanted to let you know that our next meeting will be on Sunday, August 22nd. I think there's another date listed on in the calendar that was handed out, and to correct that, we will be meeting on Sunday the 22nd. Next slide. Our most recent meeting, hold on 1 second, was held on the final day of July. We discussed strategy for the caucus to help Democrats up and down the ballot, as well as to promote pro-disability rights messages. In particular, we discussed developments in the past month where it was learned that the Carlyle Group, where Youngkin has been a senior executive, had invested in a company that paid workers with disabilities sub-minimum wages. This has emerged as a major controversy in the governor's campaign and highlights a very important disability issue. We really appreciate that DPVA made a point of making sure of amplifying that this is a problem and it is a red flag about the leadership that Republicans would bring, or lack thereof. We also discussed the importance of Biden's proposal for $400 billion in investment in home and community-based services, and in increasing, well overdue increase in direct service workers' compensation, and how important it is that we stress that it is Democrats on the front line fighting for us to finally meet the needs of older adults and people with disabilities and the workers who care for them. Next slide. In addition to that, we are planning to work with some specific campaigns such as Jennifer Kitchen and we also are getting ready to get in touch with the EPVA Disabilities Caucus in terms of establishing a forum for statewide Democratic nominees or their representatives in the near future to speak about the issues of importance to the disability community and what is at stake in these statewide elections. As was said before, not that many people know about the elections themselves, but also not that many people are aware of what state government can do to address their needs. And I think that this is a part where we can really emphasize the connection between state government and the needs of people with disabilities. So stay tuned for more information as it becomes available. And if anybody wants to get involved, wants to be a part of this work, please do not hesitate to be in touch with myself or with our co-chair, Michael Angeloni. An absolutely indefatigable worker on these issues. So, who also is now leading Virginia Young Down's Disabilities Caucus as well. So, really couldn't ask for a better teammate in terms of getting this work done. And with that, I'll put one more slide. We will also plan to be linking up with all of our local candidates, our candidates for House of Delegates, as well as our county board and school board candidates who are up for election this year, because we want to talk with them about the issues that are currently facing the disability community and how their messaging in the current campaign can again help to connect what people are thinking about in terms of the election with and what with the messaging and with the strategy for how they are going to get out the vote. So with that, I want to thank you for your time, and I'll turn it back to you.
Thanks so much, Daniel. So from the Equality Caucus, next slide, please. Their meetings are on the last Tuesday of the month. So it is their inaugural event on August 30th. So I would encourage everyone to go there. It'd be great to give one of our newest caucuses a lot of support at Freddy's. And there's some community events that they are partnering with the Arlington Gay Lesbian Association, the fundraiser on August 29th, and then the ice cream social on September 26th. And if you're interested in joining as an ally or as a member, get in touch with Jonathan. They're looking to expand the caucus. Next slide, please. All right, I will hand this over to Fatima to give us the interview caucus update.
Wow, this is really encouraging. I really wasn't expecting this crowd right after as our second meeting in August. So this is really awesome. As you know, I'm the chair of the Interfaith Caucus, and our meetings are we have a meeting every week. They're on Tuesday nights, at 7:30, and they're mostly planning meetings, but they're also meetings to talk about policy. So I also wanted to say that we very much would welcome and actively invite elected officials to attend our meetings, because we think that their input would be very valuable in terms of how we can support them in the interfaith space. So again, our meetings are at 7:30. Next one is on August 10th. And there's that email address that's directly to me. So if you want to reach out, have any questions, have something to talk about, let me know. Okay, next slide, please. All right, so I'm going to brag a little bit, and there it is. Oh, we have the other picture. Okay, great. So I'm going to brag a little bit. As you know, last weekend we had our fourth annual Interfaith Eid celebration, and I think it's this is a really important thing because it shows that there's still interest in working with the American Muslim community in particular because it is a Muslim holiday. It's a holiday about giving, and we've had three wonderful speakers. You see them up there. And they gave messages of hope and unity and community building. And that's really what this celebration is about. It's about building community. It's about working together towards common goals, common values, and making our place, communities a better place to live. So next slide, please. Okay, so continuing with the Eid celebration and bragging a little bit more, but pretty proud. We had some visitors, some Muslim elected officials, Ghazala Hashmi, Senator Ghazala Hashmi, and Virginia Secretary of Education Atif Carney decided to drop by. So we were graced with her presence. The buffet was awesome as usual every year, and this year we usually in previous years we've had a Syrian refugee organization cater the celebration. So that serves two purposes. It helps the Syrian refugee organization, which we support. We support the refugees, and also they make an amazing spread. I mean, really, how can you go wrong with Syrian food, right? So this year, though, we decided to go with an Arlington woman-owned small business. You may know that it's Oktoberfest catering. You might have seen them at the farmers markets, but they're really fabulous. They did a great job this year. We collected over 100 pounds of food for APAC, which I'm really thrilled to. And I think that's it. And of course, the voter registration folks were there, Marsha and Paula. I just want to thank them again for being there. So next slide, please. Okay, so our next activity is going to be on October 24th for advocating for early voting, and it's a social polls activity. I think most of you are familiar with this. And we're going to work with congregations around town to get the word out and organize voters to get to the polls. Pretty simple. What's really cool though is we are going to be we're going to try and arrange a choir and have music near these voting sites just to motivate people to get out. And for those that are there, they'll be serenaded by wonderful music. So I think that's a pretty cool thing. And that was the idea of one of my team members, Alexander Ritchie. So, and what's the matter with me? Going back to the Eid celebration, I want to thank all of my team members. We couldn't have pulled this off without all of their help. Alexander Ritchie, Ken Spiker, Debbie Bellison, and Nate Henry, among others, just did an amazing job. Oh, and one other elected official that was there is Takis. And AYDs, of course, yes. Next slide, please. Okay, that's pretty much it, folks. We're always welcoming people to attend our meetings, and we have our Facebook group, of course. If you haven't joined already, well, my question is why not? Rip out your phone and go to Facebook, and in the search window, put Interfaith Caucus, and you should get Arlington Dems Interfaith Caucus, our Facebook group page. So, I think that's it. Thanks so much.
Thank you so much. It was an awesome event. And now we're going to give the Donuts Caucus update. Next slide, please. So they've been really consistent with this food drive. It's great. I mean, it's really easy. Every second Saturday of the month, you can drop off food. They have volunteers that are helpful. It takes less than 5 minutes. So we encourage everyone to stop by and participate. Next slide, which is exciting because it is festival time, Laura, and which is coming up very soon.
Thank you, Vicki. Hello, everyone. Around the sign-up sheet, so thank you for everybody that signed up. 2 weeks' time, Arlington County Fair is back in person. That's one of our prime opportunities to reach out to voters and let them know about the election that really is happening, and our wonderful slate of candidates. Some of her in the room today, Takas. If you need any more motivation than being in an awesome space with fellow Democrats, promoting our ticket while doing goat yoga, riding fair rides, watching pie eating contests. Now think about this. Takas's primary opponent, well, not his main opponent, Mike Cantwell, has a booth at this fair. We need to have the biggest, best Democrat booth ever. It's always a ton of fun. You'll mingle with neighbors, friends, the candidates on the ticket, and other leaders in our community. It's just a really inspiring, fun time. So I'm looking forward to seeing all of you and many more at the fair. It will be completely safe because, of course, we'll be masked and have all the protective equipment that we need. And like I said, it's just a really great opportunity. So please sign up. You will be receiving an email. Everyone who signed up today, you'll be getting an email from Mike Heminger. By the way, best partner ever. Arlington Democrats. If you have any questions about participating, you can talk to either Mike or me. And when you get that email or anyone shoves a sign-up sheet in front of your face, sign up. Thanks.
Thanks a lot. I think we'll let the sign-up sheet going around here if you didn't get it. And I think it's AYD time, so I'm going to pass it to
All right, I can pass it over to Matt. Matt, take it over, Matt.
Thank you for the introduction. First and foremost, I think that it goes without saying, but the Arlington Young Democrats will also be supporting Marissa in any type of recall effort that we have. So, just want to make sure that that is clear. Also, I would like to just use one point of personal privilege and give a big round of applause for Congresswoman Cori Bush, who sat outside of the Capitol and forced the evaluation of the eviction report. So that was great work.
All right, next slide.
So we had a pretty eventful July. We had our membership barbecue, and I really appreciate all the folks who came out and embraced the rain with us on the top of the rooftop of my building. I grilled out in the pouring rain, and it worked for some reason, but it's all good. And we had a lot of folks come out. We had 2 former AYD presidents show up, so that was great to see them as well. And we also had State Senator Adam Evan and Delegate Rip Sullivan, whose districts we were in, come and talk. So it was great to have them there. Next slide. I just want to give a quick shout out to all of our sponsors for that event. We had Delegate Rip Sullivan, Joe Cayazzo, ACD member Craig Hines, who is also here, Senator Janet Howell, Mary Guerra, Corey Barton, County Clerk Paul Ferguson, and of course, the chair of the ACD committee, Margo Horner, who had to step out. But thank you all for helping us. Together, we raised about $2,700 for that event, which is a lot for us. So we really appreciate all the work that you've been able to help us out with. So next slide. We also had a great Arlington Beat the Ticket event over in the Continental Beer Garden in Roslyn. We had the majority of our delegates, or people running for delegate, Elizabeth Bennett Parker, Delegate Patrick Coe, and Delegate Alfonso Lopez, as well as County Board Member Takis Thomas, and also School Board candidate Mary Cadero, who came and addressed our membership, let them know what they're running for, and who's on the ballot coming this November. Next slide. Next week, we will be headed to Cincinnati for the YDA convention. We have about 5 members, I think, from Arlington who are going. We will be representing Virginia as delegates there, so that's very exciting, and we're looking forward to seeing the rest of the young Democrats of America, and hopefully we can tell them to come and volunteer here in Virginia for us. So that'll be good. All right, next slide. Coming up, we have our new member social hour. This is a great time for folks who are either new to the organization or thinking about joining the organization to come out and actually meet with the members, talk with us, ask us what's going on, how they can get more involved. We've recruited a lot of people through this. So if you know anyone who is under the age of 35, who lives in Arlington, and is not currently a member, please send them out. We will be at the boardroom on August 18th at 7 p.m. So we would love to see some of those folks there. All right, next slide. And then we will also be having a campaign training workshop the following Tuesday on August 24th. We are still working out a location for that, but this is an opportunity for us to explain to folks who are just getting involved what they should be doing in terms of canvassing, phone banking, text banking, whatever it may be, just so that we know that they're out there and they're ready to go. So we are very excited to get that underway. Next slide. And of course, we're asking folks to join us for that. We have recently worked out our campaign plan on both who we will be supporting outside, and of course, we will also be supporting all of our candidates here in Arlington. So we will be knocking doors in Arlington, of course, for Terry McAuliffe, Paula Ayala, Mark Herring, Elizabeth Bennett Parker, Patrick Coe, Rich Sullivan, Alfonso Lopez, Takis Thomas, and Mary Cadero, so that we make sure we can elect all of them and keep not only Arlington blue, but continue to keep Virginia blue, because that's the most important thing this year. So thank you all. And I'll give it back to Jim. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you, Matt and AYD for all of your terrific work, and thank you to Outreach for everything that you are doing out there in the community as well. So much going on, folks. If you like what you heard, you can always find our events and activities at arlingtondemocrats.org or on our Facebook page. So check them out, and we're delighted to see you at any and all of these events. All right, I'm going to move us along in our agenda. For those people who are new to the Arlington Democrats monthly meetings, we are always very fortunate to have with us a representative from either the county board or the school board, letting us know about the activities that are happening in our local government. This evening, we will have a county board update, and we're delighted to be welcoming the vice chair of our county board, Katie Crystal, to the program. Anybody out there tonight? Hello, I'm Katie Crystal. If we haven't met yet, I have the pleasure of being your vice chair on the Arlington County Board, and I have the pleasure tonight, as Jill teed up well, to give you an update on what we have been busy with on the Arlington County Board. The first thing I want to do, it might have been somewhere, so let's see about next one. Oh, the most important thing that I want to leave you all with tonight is COVID resources for those in our community. You want to whatever will flash you. Oh no. Slide fail. Okay, more important that I deliver this information accurately to you then, and we can get these numbers, these phone numbers of resources to share. If nothing else, we want to use every opportunity we have to make Arlingtonians aware of the services that we have for them while this pandemic is continuing, and what they can do to help bring an end to it. So first, thank you to President Joe Biden and Congresswoman Cori Bush, who are probably here today. The CDC has expanded the eviction moratorium through October 3rd in communities with high rates of transmission. Northern Virginia is among them. That said, we are incredibly committed to making sure that no one in Arlington is falling behind on their rent. We have all heard stories about how jurisdictions have failed to get out this federal money. We have been doing everything we can to shuffle out the door our local money, your tax dollars, that work keeping your neighbors in their homes. The most important
doing during the pandemic. And we've now been supporting Arlingtonians and accessing more than $13 million of state funds. And that's gone to keep them current on their rent, pay back arrears, and make sure that nobody is facing a looming eviction, especially when that moratorium expires again on the 3rd. The most important phone number, which I think you can see, is that number right there, which is a phone number for any kind of financial assistance that folks in the community might need. So if that's you, if that's a friend or loved one, that number, 703-228-1300, will connect you with somebody who can get you to eviction prevention help, food assistance, or anything else you and your families might need. I saw those hands go up when Jill asked for vaccinated at the beginning of the night. I am preaching to the choir here, but I just want to make sure you all know there is no time like the present to take your shot if you haven't already. We are continuing our walk-up hours for Arlington Mill and Walter Reed. Evening and weekends, incredibly important. We don't want to limit this to folks who can take off from 9 to 5. And as some of you may have seen, we have walk-in vaccinations at all of our library branches right now. We know our library branches are parts of the community. And that's a great place to get your shot or to direct someone in your life that you love is finally ready to do their part in ending this virus. And then the most important thing, if you have been feeling anxious about when we are going to reach and finally kick this thing, as I certainly have, if you're feeling worried about the kids in your life heading back to school and you're feeling like you want to do something, we could use your help. We do still need volunteers with our complete vaccination committee, which has been our effort to reach out to our hard to reach populations throughout Arlington County, trusted advisors and friends. If you have people in your life who maybe have fallen prey to some of the myths out there about the COVID vaccination, they're not just the partisan myths. I can tell you, for example, as a young mom, those myths about COVID and fertility are rampant in my age cohort. And that probably is the same for you, whatever your case may be. And so you can find myth busting and toolkits in multiple languages. If you go to arlingtonva.us CPC, or just go to Arlington VA and search complete vaccination committee, you will find materials that you can use, talking points you can use, flyers in Amharic and Spanish and other languages. And if you have already convinced everybody in your life to get vaccinated, you want to reach more people, we'd love your help with that too. You can sign up for a shift and join our CDC street team, which is folks who are doing flyering and holding signs in high traffic areas to direct people to places where they can get their shot right there. I know Arlington Dems are great at catching attention of people and encouraging them to action, so you can put those skills to work when it comes to vaccination. We also are going to have a booth at the county fair to help give out some information too. So again, arlingtonva.us, search CDC, and that is a great place to sign up to help. All right, so that's COVID. We had a heck of a meeting this past July. I don't think I've seen anything like it in my 5 years on the county board, so I'm going to pick a couple of the highlights. This was an exciting series of meetings. We made some big strides for labor and labor justice, employee justice in Arlington County, and this is the best example I can think of in my own life about how elections have consequences. Because the General Assembly that you helped make blue empowered localities to do a couple of things that we were incredibly excited to adopt. The first is to adopt an ordinance that allows collective bargaining for Arlington County employees for the first time in a generation. We are so excited about that. We know some of the unions are organizing already. They will hold elections over the coming months. And then you will start to see bargaining affecting how we do our budgets and how services are delivered, we believe, for the better in Arlington County within the next year or so. The other thing we did was adopt the Commonwealth's very first local prevailing wage ordinance. And for those of you who are maybe not labor relations geeks, what is really exciting about this is that Northern Virginia in particular has been home to some pretty exploitative practices in the construction trades and construction industries. And we've had our hands tied as a locality. We can't require things in our bidding. We have to take the lowest bid possible to fight back against some of those exploitative processes. And so prevailing wage means that you set a wage to more or less the living wage in the region for that job. It's of course important for ensuring that people who build our schools and public facilities can live in our community and support their families. But what's also great about it is the compliance that we'll do and expect out of our contractors allows us to follow up on things like wage theft and worker misclassification, because we'll have accurate records of who's on that project and we can follow up. We are really excited. We hope we will be setting a standard for the private sector to join us in ensuring that construction jobs are the pathway to the middle class that they once were and should be again.
So very excited about that. The next one, you have probably heard about this. Again, my slides have gotten a little lost, but I think you've probably heard about the Community Oversight Board. It started as a civilian review board and eventually took on a name that I think more accurately reflects not only the principle of oversight, but the idea that it's about the community as a whole. Some of you may have followed, the manager put out an initial proposal back in May that was not especially well received. What we adopted was very different. And what it especially was the codification of a recommendation of our police practices group, which was an extraordinary group of Arlington leaders from civil rights organizations, from we had a representative on this subcommittee from the police department who put in a truly remarkable amount of work. They had 16 different meetings to learn about the landscape of civilian oversight boards throughout the country, to learn from what other Virginia jurisdictions have done. Think about what it might look like in Virginia. Make some recommendations to us initially. We had work sessions with experts at the county board. We had small group listening sessions, which was a really meaningful experience to really talk to people one-on-one as county board members. And we asked them, we said, I know you've done 16 meetings already. Can you go back to the drawing board and help us solve a particular challenge that we have, which is, in a nutshell, how do you sequence these investigations so that you are not re-traumatizing victims, for example, by asking them to testify multiple times, so that you are not challenging the integrity of investigation that may be important for the COB or for internal affairs. And then PBG put their heads together and came up with a model that I think is really exciting and one that Arlington's really going to benefit from, of simultaneous investigation. An independent auditor monitor on behalf of and with the COB will work to investigate complaints on our police department alongside the Office of Professional Responsibility. And if they disagree, the county board voted to give the Civilian Community Oversight Board subpoena power. We think that's really important for their independence. And you will see this, I think. We hope that the subpoena power will be exercised, but I think you'll see it in the way the COB can, in general, conduct itself with independence and come to the community and say that their findings were made independent of the police chain of command. It's a really important principle for us. So where do we go from here? Well, we need the General Assembly to fix a couple of things for us because, as you all know, we're a strange bird in Arlington with our county manager form of government, and every piece of legislation that makes its way through the General Assembly doesn't always take into account the ways in which Arlington is special. So we need them to do a couple of things for us. We need them to specifically give the county board the authority to appoint the independent police auditor. This is really important. I was talking about the independence from the chain of command. Right now, the only person who can appoint the IPA is our county manager, who is technically part of the police chain of command. We know it's important to civil rights advocates in our community. It's important to us on the board that the IPA be independent. And so we are hoping for that fix in the General Assembly, and we're talking to our legislators about it. The other piece, I'm really in the weeds here, but I think Arlington Democrats are interested. So this will be my last point, is that we're hoping the General Assembly will expressly give the Civilian Oversight Board the ability to meet in private sessions to protect the privacy and, in some cases, anonymity of the complainants. Right now, it's sketchy whether they have that authority, and we definitely don't want to ask these people who are going to be doing a ton of work for our community as COB members to expose themselves to potential lawsuits. So you will see us advocating for that in Richmond, and we're excited to work with our General Assembly members to do it. And we're going to start appointing members to our Community Oversight Board. My colleagues and I on the county board are going to undergo training from NACOL, the National Association of Civilian Oversight of Law Enforcement, to prepare us to be able to prepare community members before we make these appointments. And you'll see that happening throughout the fall. And then you will start to see them get to work, organize themselves, hire the independent auditor monitor, or rather until we get that fixed, the county manager will hire the independent auditor monitor, and start to open their doors to members of the community who have concerns or individual issues that they would like to see investigated. So this is not a perfect ordinance. We know there were people who maybe felt differently on various different sides of this, but I am really excited. I think it's a good piece of policy making, and that's really a credit to our police practices group. I'll end with this anecdote. I just heard the other day, we heard from a member of our staff that somebody in Virginia Beach, which already has a CRB but wants to update it, we called them and said, we really wanted to hear what Arlington did, because from the best we can tell, Arlington is the only jurisdiction that's really thought about this in terms of how to implement it. And as Arlington's reputation goes, the only community that's really thought about something is a pretty good one. And we can go on to the next slide. So all of that, and there's more. We also inked an agreement with Amazon to accept a $40 million parcel of land in Crystal City. Yes, that we will be bringing you at least 550 units of affordable housing, which is incredibly important. We adopted a 2-year capital improvement plan. Next year, we'll be out for regularly scheduled programming and planning for 10-year capital improvement plans. This was another bridge during the pandemic. We allocated $23 million in affordable housing investment money to stabilize about 300 units in Park Shirlington, which is the southern part of the county. Those are kind of naturally occurring affordable housing, and it's really important that we work with a partner to commit them and promise that they would stay affordable housing, and that we can deepen those affordable levels for 75 more years. My slide got cut off, but I need you to see a picture. We renamed Lee Highway. We are so excited to do this. A big shout out to Delegate Rick Sullivan, who shepherded a piece of legislation that would give Arlington County the authority to do this in the past General Assembly. And a big shout out to the first gentleman of the Arlington County Democrats, who led with the once and former Lee Highway Alliance, working group that included community members, business owners, stakeholders, residents, representatives of our arts community, civil rights groups, and others who really think through a pretty extensive amount of public engagement about what we wanted the name of this highway to represent, and who we wanted to honor with it, and what we wanted that to say about Arlington County. The name they recommended to us was Langston Boulevard. John M. Langston, whom I imagine many of you are familiar, has a remarkable legacy throughout Virginia and indeed throughout the South. His titles were too numerous to count. As a congressman, as a founder of one of our historically Black colleges in Virginia, many other roles. He also for a time lived in Arlington, where he worked at the Freedmen's Bureau, which is his connection to us locally. You'll see many landmarks named for him already on the corridor. For example, the Langston Community Center, our Halls Hill Highview Park neighborhood honors him with the name of their civic association. And we think it is beyond fitting that Langston Boulevard will now have his name. I probably exhausted you as much as our July meeting exhausted the board. I can take questions. I don't know for.
When do the new signs go up?
Great question. We are still working with VDOT on that, but I will make sure that we get the ribbon cutting information out to the depths of August so that you all can show up and help unveil some of those signs. And we're really looking forward to it. Thank you guys again. It's such a pleasure to get to do this work on your behalf. And thanks for the chance to be here.
Thank you so much, Pete. We really appreciate it. I think it's important to almost wrap up. We have one more slide to go, but almost wrap up the meeting, talking about the great progress that's being made in Arlington, the fact that we can see democratic policy priorities and values in action. This is what happens when you elect Democrats. Good things happen. We've got to do it again in November. We have contested races across the ballot. Everybody needs to show up. When we do that, we get amazing policy victories like we saw in just one meeting of the county board in July. So thank you for that reminder, Katie, and for all the work that you're doing. All right, now let's give another round of applause. Thanks for hanging with us. We're on time. But wait, there's more. We've gone over a lot of events and activities. And again, if you're interested in getting involved, please head to our website, arlingtondemocrats.org. /calendar is where you can find our events, but there's lots of information throughout that website. And of course, our Facebook page, which I know every single one of you visited in order to help promote the pinned post about our gold card events, which if you have not yet bought your gold card events, there is still time, folks, as I'm talking up here, to whip out your phones and to do so. So that's my last plug for fundraising. We do have one more event that I wanted to mention. By popular demand, we are doing a morning mug on August 22nd to talk about our school board caucus process. So take a look at that. Come on out. We'd love to have you listen in on that discussion. All right, folks, that brings us to the end of our event. Thank you so much for coming out. I really appreciate it. So please don't stay on the sidelines. Get involved. We need everybody out there, and let's go fight win. Thanks very much.